Hello everyone and welcome. In today's video, we are going to be exploring the Monmouth Mall in Eatontown, New Jersey. This mall has undergone many major changes throughout its lifespan, and it is about to undergo a rather drastic one in the near future. A large portion of this mall is about to be demolished in order to make space for a new mixed-use development, including 1,000 new luxury apartments. I shot this footage in February of 2024, just shortly before the JC Penney, Lord & Taylor, and an entire wing of the mall fell before the wrecking ball. I wanted to come and document these parts of the mall before they're gone for good. This mall began its life in 1960 as an open-air shopping center. Stores included a Bamberger's and a Montgomery Ward, which later became an Alexander's. In 1975, it was fully enclosed and expanded with the addition of a 2-floor wing and 3 new anchors including Abraham & Straus, Hanes, and JC Penney. In 1987, the Bamberger's was converted into a Macy's, and in 1990, the Hanes became Lord & Taylor. The Abraham & Straus became a Stearns, and later a Boscov's, which is still in operation today. In the mid-90s, the mall was expanded once again to include a new food court, movie theater, and a Nobody Beats the Wiz electronics store. 2018 saw the closing of Lord & Taylor, with the JC Penney following in 2022, which brings us to where we are today, with an empty mall awaiting its destruction. So let's go explore it and see what we can find. This mall has 2 main wings, the original single-floor wing and the later added 2-floor wing, which is now vacant and awaiting demolition. We're going to start here. Here we can see a Forever 21, which was actually a 2-floor store. We can see that lonely escalator back there. Here we have a PacSun. Up until recently, most of these stores were still open and operating, and I guess because of the demolition plan, they just sort of let the leases expire on them. Over there is an Express, and over here is Cotton On. This next spot is a coffee beanery, which was at one point a thriving chain of coffee shops, but many of them failed, and I believe there's only a few left. This is what they used to look like. And this store with the big pink swoop up here, this was a limited to girls' clothing store, which later converted into a Justice. We can see these pink flower door handles, which were the main logo from Limited 2. I think this later became some kind of airsoft shooting gallery. You'll notice that cardboard cutout back there of a woman holding a rifle or something. Kinda strange to see. This bright orange store was a Lids hat store. No more hats here. This Hot Topic was the only open store in this entire wing. I guess they just must have been trying to sell out the last of their stock before they closed up for good. This was a kitchen design studio, and over here was a Things Remembered. Pretty soon this whole mall is going to be a thing remembered. This is a Spencer Gifts, which was a recent closure. And over here we have this store with these colorful panels on it. I could not, for the life of me, figure out what this one was. I tried looking at old maps, old pictures, and I couldn't figure it out. So please let me know in the comments if you happen to know what this one was. And when we look inside, we can see the old springtime decorations just collecting dust in the dark. I wonder when the last time they actually put those out on display was. Here we have a Zoomies skateboard apparel shop. I always thought this was kind of a cool looking store. Never really bought much, not really my style, but looks pretty cool inside. Over here in this empty court, they have this really nice split-level staircase. I love seeing elements like this in malls. It just gives it that touch of old-school elegance that I think has really been lost in modern-day design. This empty area used to have seating and planters, and I guess they just cleared it all out to prepare for demolition. Overall, I think this mall is pretty bland looking, but it still makes me sad to see another one go. So now here's something really wild. This is the old JC Penney, and they had these signs up saying asbestos warning. That's just crazy to see that in an open operating mall. Definitely don't want to go in there. But let's notice this rather impressive marble storefront for the JC Penney. Very old school. I actually have some old footage of inside this store from my last video here. Let's see what this store used to look like. So as you can see, it's a pretty old school looking department store. Probably hasn't changed much since maybe the late 90s or early 2000s. This store closed up in 2022. JC Penney as a company has seen a lot of struggles, and it almost went bankrupt a few years ago. I'm surprised to see that it's still holding on at all, but not this one anymore. I really like the display they have set up in this window with the fake plant. It's just kinda sad and beautiful at the same time. At one point in the mall's history, this space was a restaurant known as La Crepe, and there was a second entrance over here. You'll notice that it has the same tile work where the signage would be up above the storefront. So if you're the type of person who hangs out in malls, you probably recognize that tile. This was an Auntie Anne's pretzel shop, and this whole walled-off section was the store. Here we can see just how empty this place is. Just very eerie to be in a place like this. No people, no stores open, just kinda creepy. Here we have Champs Sporting Goods, and we can still see all the old shelving brackets still on the walls. And here we have something that's pretty common to see in dead malls, an abandoned Hollister porch. It's a great place to have your picture taken. I couldn't tell what this store was, but it has some fancy lighting fixtures. Maybe a jewelry store or an upscale clothing store. This store was the children's place, and we can see it's already starting to fall apart on its own. Here's another one that I couldn't identify, but it has a very unique looking storefront. Let's take a look inside. Very dark inside, not very easy to see too much, but I did notice this heart made out of stones on the floor. so if you happen to know what that was, please let me know. Guess the Dead Mall store has become my favorite game. I've gotten pretty good at it, but there's still some that I don't know myself. This was a Modell's Sporting Goods, and this was a 2-floor junior anchor. And look at that, you can see the water coming through the ceiling, you can see the ceiling tiles starting to fall, places in rough shape, definitely not being cared for anymore. This was a GameStop, and there were actually 2 GameStops in this mall. The other one is actually still open in the single floor wing. That red and black carpet makes me think that this was a Babbage's at one point and was later converted into a GameStop. Let's take a look at the Lord & Taylor. This closed in 2018, just shortly before every Lord & Taylor location closed. I have to wonder how long that picture of Julia Roberts has been in that window. So the window was blacked out, so I wasn't able to see inside on this visit, but I did get some footage of that on one of my previous visits. It was already closed at this point, but we can get a good view of the inside. We can still see all the old jewelry counters and everything else still intact. Now this one really breaks my heart. This was a Suncoast Motion Picture Company, one of my favorite stores growing up. This particular location actually remained open until 2022. I believe there are still 2 or 3 Suncoasts still open in different states as of the time of me making this video. Most of them closed down in 2009 when the company was bought by FYE. I have some old footage from when this mall was open. Let's take a trip back in time and see Suncoast Motion Picture Company one more time. I want to show you the inside of this Boscov's because there's a really cool and unique feature. This store was originally an Abraham & Straus department store, and we can still see the original escalators that they had when they opened up. And aren't these just very impressive and luxurious looking? It really harkens back to the days when a mall department store was considered a luxurious place. Seems like we've come very far from that point. You'll notice that these are finished with real travertine stone, sort of this porous crystalline stone. Very beautiful. It's just something you don't see very often anymore. This Boscov's will not be demolished. It will remain open as a freestanding store. It seems like the plan is to shear off the mall wing that leads up to it and just have it standing on its own with apartment buildings next to it. It'll be interesting to see how well that does. And as I was walking out, I noticed some more travertine here surrounding the entranceway. Pretty cool little hidden detail. Okay, so now that we've seen most of the wing that's going to be demolished, let's go take a look at some of the parts of the mall that are supposed to remain. Here we can see the point where the 2-floor and single-floor wing meet with this little escalator combination, and down here I noticed this spot with this multicolored tile. This must have been some sort of ice cream stand or cookies or something like that. Very old school looking, kind of that vintage mall feel to it. I liked it a lot. It just kind of evoked some old memories of going to the mall. And over here at the Journeys, I noticed these graphics hanging up above the storefront that were very faded. I wonder how long they've been hanging up there for. This section of the mall still has open stores in it, and we can see a little bit of activity going on. I want to show you this East Meets West. This store used to be a Disney store, believe it or not. I'm guessing this was built sometime in the late 90s to early 2000s. It's not the style of the early 90s Disney store, and it's also not the style of the later revival stores during the late 2000s, so I'm guessing that must have been the time period it was made. We'll notice this very sparkly bright red floor. We have this overhead lighting which looks like something from a movie set. That's pretty neat right there. And just more of this sparkling red color scheme. Did you ever go to a Disney store that looks like this one? Please let me know down in the comments. I don't ever remember going to one. And now we've arrived at this incredibly dismal looking food court. When this food court was originally added to the mall, it had a Jersey Shore theme. It was bright and colorful. It was filled with movie theater style light bulbs. It felt like a carousel. And they removed it all, and now we're left with this. I haven't heard any plans on what they intend to do with this space, but I don't imagine they're going to keep it open as a food court much longer. There's only 3 stalls open here. It's pretty sad. Let's take a look at this little arcade they have set up here. You know I love mall arcades. So it looks like it's mostly modern games, nothing too exciting, but it does have a good vibe. You'll notice the decor inside here. This used to be a frozen yogurt shop. I remember there was a big food trend with frozen yogurt shops where you can go and pump your own and add your own toppings, and then they would sell it to you by weight. They all kind of disappeared. We can look back here and see where all the different frozen yogurt machines used to be, just covered up with these white panels. I think this may actually be the brightest and most colorful portion of this mall. I just like this Aliens game with a crazy xenomorph popping out at you. Just look at them all coming right at you, ready to eat you alive. I found these signs to be rather appropriate. The 90s and the good old days. For this mall, they certainly were, and they're long past at this point. Next to the food court is this escalator that leads us down into this weird little hallway. This is the space that was originally an Alexander's department store, and then later a Nobody Beats the Whiz electronics store. It was most recently a Planet Fitness. This was some sort of Nerf gun battle arena, and I noticed this cool Simpsons arcade machine here. This is something I would have absolutely loved when I was a kid. This entire hallway gave off just a very eerie, liminal sort of vibe. I rode these escalators up, expecting to find something, but it turns out that this was just the former Planet Fitness space, and there's really nothing here. No reason to come in this entrance. So let's take a look at the other open anchor at this mall. This beautiful Macy's that was formerly a Bamberger's department store. Just look at this grand entranceway. I don't think I've ever seen one quite like this anywhere else. Very 1970s luxury department store vibe. Even this little side entrance was cool with these mirrored panels up above us. As I said before, this was formerly a Bamberger's department store, which was a chain based out of New Jersey that had many stores throughout the state and surrounding states. It converted into a Macy's in 1986, but the store still retains many old school features of the original Bamberger's. We can just look around here and see that it's a very old looking store. Lots of track lighting and all these little studio lights. Very cool. Here we can see a really interesting and rather weird feature of this store. This really large fake skylight over the menswear section. I guess if you can't have a real skylight, do the next best thing and make a fake one. As we make our way to the top floor, we can see this escalator enclosed with mirrored glass. Another nice old school touch. The top floor of this Macy's is just a time capsule of old school department store decor. Macy's recently announced that they're going to be closing 150 of their stores in 2024. I don't know if this store is going to be one of the ones that closes or if it's going to remain open. If it does remain open, do you think they're going to keep all these unique features in the mall, or will they renovate it? It's hard to say. But I really hope they do keep it like this, because this place is just a time capsule of old school goodness. So I think we've seen all there is to see on the inside of this mall. Let's go take a tour of the outside and check out some of the architectural features of these anchor buildings that are scheduled to be demolished. Here we can see that demolition is already well underway on this section of the mall. It looks like they've just stripped out this restaurant completely. It looks like they've just completely gutted this entire section of the building. There's just nothing left in there. I think this restaurant was a rather recent addition to the mall. I don't think it had been there all that long. I'm kind of surprised that they've already stripped this section out. It seems like this might have been something that they would have wanted to keep, but apparently not. Here we can see the Boscov's, which was a former Abraham & Straus, later a Stearns building. Still has a very cool, old school style architecture to it. This building's going to remain, it's just going to be a freestanding building right here. Here's the old Lord & Taylor, and this was originally a Hanes department store, built in 1975. And it doesn't look like it's changed all that much. We still have that great 70s style architecture on it. Very cool looking building. It's a shame we're losing it. I love these old school globe lights they have here, and it's just very well landscaped with nice plants outside of it. It's just they always put a lot of effort into the appearance of these old stores. And it's a shame we're going to be losing one like this. Let's go get a closer look at it. We have this black marble here, just good quality building materials. You know, you really don't see that so much anymore. Everything's just very cheap nowadays. And as I walk up to these doors, you'll notice that security actually drove past me, and I thought for sure that they were going to stop and yell at me, but they just kept on going. So, thank you, security guards, for letting me do my thing. And here we have the JC Penney, which was also built in 1975, and is just another great example of old school architecture. We have these sad dying plants, which look really nice in my opinion, but unfortunately they're not being taken care of any longer. And that great huge logo on the side of the building. Here we can see another one of these asbestos warning signs. Pretty ominous to see that. Definitely not going to risk trying to go into a place like that. But look at these cool wooden door handles. Just more old school charm. It's just a very impressive looking building in my opinion, and I'm just sad that it's going to be going away, but at least I've put it on video, and that's something that'll be there forever. Let's take a walk up to these entrances. Maybe we'll be able to get a good look inside. Here we can see the old JC Penney sign all blacked out at this point. And we have more of these asbestos warning signs. Right up here, we'll be able to get a good look inside this one. Every time I see one of these vacant mall anchors, it just reminds me of those back rooms pictures you see posted on the internet. Yeah, just look at that. I think we found the back rooms right here at JC Penney. We'll take just one last look at this great looking building. Sad to see it go. So I think it's time to say goodbye to the Monmouth Mall, or at least the Monmouth Mall as we know it. It's very likely that by the time you're watching this video, most of this will already be gone. While this place was never exactly my favorite mall, I still enjoyed going here, and I'm not happy to see that it's going to be demolished. But I'd like to know what you think. Are you sad to see another mall go, or do you think it's time? Do you think the Monmouth Mall has run its course and that it's in need of a redevelopment? Please let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to start a discussion on this one. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.